And I guess we will start with the appointment to the Baltimore County Animal Hearing Board. Lisa Luther. Hello. Is Miss Lisa Luther here?
Mr. Chair, I don't believe she is on. She was sent an invite. I cannot recall if she accepted the invite.
Okay. Maybe we'll see her Monday.
Mr. Chairman, just for the council's edification, Miss Luther is a reappointment to the board by the or renominated to not nominated for reappointment to the board by the county executive. She has been on the hearing board for the last few years and is seeking reappointment. It was deferred from last week's meeting until this one, so I don't really have an answer though why she was not able to get on.
Okay, no problem. Things happen. We'll move right along with Major Irwin.
Greetings, sir. How are you?
Fine, sir. I understand you want to crack down on some auto theft.
Yeah, we have a renewable grant through the Auto Theft Council for our Regional Auto Theft Task Force, which is a conglomeration of Baltimore County Police, Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County, Howard, and Marin State Police. It's an additional $5,000 to the $420,000 grant that we asked for. We utilize that to put a light kit in one of our police cars, new roof decals on the vehicles that we use in day-to-day operations, and then new shirts and jackets for our personnel.
Well, Major, I certainly wish you well, because as we all know that many times these auto thefts are like step one in other crimes. Step one, secure a stolen vehicle. Step two, go out and do some heinous act. Any questions or comments from the members? Thank you very much, Major.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Now we move on to Director Lafferty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Good afternoon. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of state funds totaling $500,000 to the county's countywide improvement bulk capital project account. These funds will be used to provide a matching grant for Impact Baltimore towards its phase one of a new family community enrichment center located on Deer Park Road in Randallstown. Impact Baltimore is a nonprofit organization affiliated with the Dream Life Worship Center worldwide. And this project at the state level was selected by the members of District 10 in the state legislature. Phase one will establish a business office, a child care development center, and a multi-purpose space for after-school programs. Phases 2 and 3 are projected, but not yet identified as to funding. So this supplemental appropriation will go into the account that's already been adopted by the county council, in which the county has already put $500,000 towards this project. And with that, ask your approval of Bill 6722.
All right, any questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Great, Councilman Patoka.
So Mr. Lafferty, just a question. Is the supplemental appropriation, is it going into a bulk account, or is it a specific line item for this project?
It goes into the bulk account, but yet we will have an allocation specifically for this project that will include the $500,000 from the county and the state. So total $1 million.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you be coming back to the council to move it from the bulk account to a line item account? Or will it just be expended from the bulk account?
It is expended directly from the bulk account.
Because I wonder if we should be doing the reverse, where rather than having bulk accounts, we should have more line item accounts, so that bulk accounts, it's hard to track which, at least for accounts, for I'll say from my lens, I won't speak for others, but from my lens, it's really difficult to track which projects are actually in the capital budget if they're grouped in a bulk account with many, many other capital projects. I was just wondering if it's possible to start moving in the other direction where we have line items, and then when we speak with communities, we can point to project with whatever the account number is and say it's right there. In a bulk account, it's a little bit more challenging, at least, again, this is just me speaking, to see where the project is. Not related to this project, but, you know, all capital projects.
Yes, sir. Well, I need to probably defer to Mr. Blades as to how those accounts are actually reflected. The information I'm sure that can be gleaned from each bulk account, Councilman, to show what's been spent in your district or other parts of the county. But if Mr. Blades has anything else to
Right.
add.
Well, actually, Director Lafferty, I had my hand up. I don't know.
Yes. Madam Mayor.
Good afternoon, everyone, and Councilman Patoka. Director Lafferty is correct. Each project has a project code, so it's very easy for us to know all projects for a specific jurisdiction or, you know, the councilmanic districts, so, because every project is followed by a project code, whether it's in the bulk account or not. I don't know the history on bulk accounts, but there are some projects that are line items, but then others are within the bulk account. But quite naturally, we're happy to explore and give other details. And I would defer to my colleague, Director Blade. But we know all projects because we track projects by project numbers.
Mr.
Is
Chairman,
that
if I may,
public?
Yes, Director Blade.
yeah, Councilman Patoka, I would just like to add that in the capital budget book, if you go to the back of the book, there's an appendix that lists every single individual job that we are aware of when putting together the bulk categories. It's broken down by dollar amount and councilmanic district. So you'll be able to see, in this case, it's project 18P100. You'll be able to see the individual jobs that make up that capital project.
Okay, that's really good to know. And the account number is in the capital
The appendix.
capital budget book as well. There's
Yes.
project number. So if the
Yes, it is.
constituent says, where is it? And we can say it's right here.
Yes.
It's right there.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you
Every
for that.
project, every project is tracked that way.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Councilman Marks.
thank you very much. Mr. Lafferty, since you're here, do you have any expectation as to when the master plan will be coming to the council?
We expect to get a draft to the county executive in early mid-November, Councilman. And as you know, it then needs to go to the planning board. And we know that in 2010, the planning board actually had 4 meetings regarding the master plan before it can then be incorporate any revisions and go to the council. So obviously we're into next year at some point in time. I wish I could be more specific, but after we get the comments back from the county executive, we'll probably have a little better handle on specific or closer to the specific dates.
Okay, but probably before CZMP starts, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Can you repeat it for us one more time, Director Lafferty? What this is for?
So this is a supplemental appropriation for the Impact Baltimore EDC's cost for a new family and community enrichment center located at the Dream Life Worship Center on Deer Park Road.
In Randallstown.
Oh, I'm not.
It's
Okay, any
supplemental
additional
to fund-
questions or comments? All right, thank you, Director Lafferty.
Thank you.
Double check one thing. Now we move on to DeAndrea Walker.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the council.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to interrupt. We had one more thing with Mr. Lafferty, if you wanted to kind of knock that out.
There was something else with Mr. Lafferty. I didn't.
Yes, sir.
3B.
Well,
Okay,
thank you.
Mr. Lafferty, I apologize. Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation. Sorry,
Thank you,
Walker.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Boswick. We also have Megan Benjamin here with me today. Mr. Chairman, if you have any more specific questions. Resolution 40-22 is a request by administration to approve the county's contributions to the purchase of 6 agricultural easements through the MALF program, the state's Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation program. This is for the easement cycle FY22. The request is for the council to approve $1.333 million in matching funds that will allow us to purchase 613 acres in easement land. The total cost is $4.343 million, and the state picks up the difference with its funds. The council previously, through Resolution 125-21, approved and ranked 12 different applications. This allows us to move forward on the acquisition of 6 farms that are outside the URL within Tier 4 and identified in the 2020 master plan as agricultural priority preservation areas. I believe you have the list in front of you, Mr. Chairman, or members of the council. I can answer specific questions or have Ms. Benjamin answer those. But with that, request approval of resolution 40-22.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Thank you very much, Mr. Lafferty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Ms. Walker, I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
Yeah.
Now, Ms. DeAndrea Walker.
And again, my apologies for cutting you off, Ms. Walker.
No problem. All right. Afternoon, Chairman and members of the council. The administration is requesting approval of an on-call sanitary sewer rehabilitation design services contract with Remington and Vignick Engineers and EBA Engineering, which is a joint venture. The purpose of this contract is to provide professional services that are required to perform various engineering tasks that we have regarding sewer pumping stations, water pumping stations, and sewer force mains here within the county. Some of the things that the contractor will be doing will be preparing designs and specifications and cost estimates for our rehabilitation of some of our pumping stations, and design and specifications and costs for some of the replacement force mains, as well as some survey and on-site electrical testing. This contract value is a tier 1, which is each contract is awarded $1 million. It's a 4-year term with an initial term of 2 automatic 1-year extensions for a total of 6 years. There was an MBE on this contract as well, and it was a competitive bid through the PSSC. I'll take any questions that you may have.
Any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thank you.
And now we will move on to Mr. Lawrence Richardson,
Good afternoon.
page 12.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. The administration is seeking approval for a contract with Prologue Inc. To provide comprehensive outreach program services to persons who are experiencing homelessness and have a mental health diagnosis. The purpose of this contract will be to operate a comprehensive outreach program for individuals who are experiencing homelessness and have mental illness. The program will link individuals to appropriate mental health services with the goal of moving them from street to shelter into self-sufficiency and permanent housing. Majority of the funding is being provided by 3 federal grants. The initial 1-year term of the contract The initial 1-year term of the contract is for $1,143,604 with 4 1-year renewals, making the total amount $6,289,822. I'll be happy to take any
Very much,
questions.
Mr. Ritchie. Any questions? Yes, Councilwoman Bevan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Richardson, I'm curious if Prologue still does it this same as they did back in the day, the old-fashioned way. They used to just walk through the woods to the homeless camps and count the homeless people and interview them right there and let them know services. Is that the way Prologue still, tries to identify the homeless and people that have certain needs?
Yes, that's still what they do. They still do their outreach in that same way.
Wow, it's remarkable. Thank you.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Mr. Richardson, I don't know if you know this, Councilwoman Bevins made me think about it. I know that one of the things that I was told in the past is that one time a year, they take a snapshot on one particular day to try to identify the number of homeless people in the county, for example. And my question is, do we know when that day is, or is it a random day? Or, I mean, I'm assuming we have to be prepared to make the count, but is it always the same day?
Yes, I believe so. I do not know the actual day. I'm not sure if Madam CAO.
Chairman Jones, it is a coordinated day. It's through the national, it's called Point in Time Survey that we tie to HUD, and it's a continuum of care consortia that coordinates it. It's usually in the winter in January. Sometimes it's in December, but we're happy to get that day for you. But the point in time survey is done nationally in jurisdictions across the country, and it is a specific day.
Okay, I mean, it makes sense to me that it would be December and in January. I mean, cold days.
But we'll be happy to get the date for you. That coordination is through Director Hickey's team in coordination with HHS, Homeless Services. That's where that work and coordination takes place.
No problem. The name was more than enough. I just looked it up. They have a whole, I guess like HUD, you can imagine they have a whole.
Yep, continuum of care, point in time survey.
With all the rules and guidelines, and I guess everything you ever want to know about the point in time survey.
Yes, sir.
All right.
It's a very interesting process. They try to get elected and legislative folks to actually participate, so you see it firsthand.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to do so when overseeing homeless services in the District of Columbia.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilman Quirk.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just a quick question for look at Baltimore County, maybe people from Department of Health and Human Services talking to different homeless people, like, and yeah, I could see the tags and everything else. And is that when I see that, is that part of this outreach program? Like when I see different county people out there engaging with different homeless people, say on benches and talking to them, and is that this type of a group in action?
So I think I heard most of your question, Councilman Quirk. It would not be anyone from behavioral health. We do not provide any direct services, but it could be one of the vendors at Prologue, to be exact. And I'm not sure if there's other county agencies that might be engaged with outreach. But in HHS ourselves, we do not provide the direct services, so we contract with a vendor such as Prologue.
And how about if you have, for example, like a common I know, issue that a lot of the council members get on a fairly continual basis is, people calling about, people standing on, say, corners, trying to collect money and is that your group directly, or is that one of these, would that be more Prologue, or would that be more your group when we have issues where we're trying to maybe move people off the corners and into, maybe a better place? Is that are you guys the contact directly for that, or who do we call for that?
Well, you can always, yes, you can always contact someone at HHS. You can always contact our behavioral health administration here at HHS, and we can be someone of the liaison, and then put you in touch with one of the vendors who does do the outreach.
Yeah, well, consider contacted, and just have somebody reach out to my office, because
Okay.
we have seen a spike, especially in different intersections, where, if we can engage the people that are soliciting, for money on the different intersections of the streets and stuff, and try to give them some resources, that would be helpful, because, and I know the police primarily are our point person on that, but I'm sure every council member will agree with me that it's very difficult to do much with that issue. I don't know if any other council members have had more success than I have, but it's an issue that continually pops up, and and I'd like to be empathetic and try to be a solution out there. So having Prologue or having other groups be proactive in trying to engage and help, that would be very helpful for sure.
Yes, I'll have someone reach out to you as soon as possible.
Thanks so much.
Councilman Quirk, oftentimes when we identify someone who needs services that are homeless, we certainly call a lot of times Prologue, who will send somebody out and try to talk to the person and try to offer them the services that we have to help them. So they've been very helpful to my staff, I can tell you. Okay. Any
Thank
additional
you.
questions?
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any additional questions or comments? I agree. Say some of the panhandlers, I'm not so sure they're homeless. That's a whole different story. But the ones we see sleeping on the street, but moving right along, Mr. Richardson, let me see, what do we have here? Associated Charities.
Yes, the administration is seeking to enter into a contract with Associated Catholic Charities for our therapeutic after-school program, which is located in the Lansdowne area of the county for youth ages 5 to 12 with who are on Medicaid and with an eligible behavioral health diagnosis. The goal of the program is for youth who exhibit any behavioral difficulty in school, in the community, and at home to benefit from additional support services in the community. Some youth with the behavioral health difficulties are at risk for hospitalization or out of home treatment. The goal of this program is to keep them in home to avoid the need for out of home treatment, to provide an environment which would include tutoring, group therapy, social skills development, and therapeutic recreation. And we also provide, the vendor will also provide transportation to these services for the youth. The initial 1-year contract for services would be $84,500 with an additional 5 1-year renewals, making the total of approximately 6-year contract for $549,250,000. And I'll take any questions.
Questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Councilman Patoka.
just a comment with this funding going to Catholic Charities. It's an opportune time for me to publicly congratulate my good friend Ashley Vallis for being named Chief Operating Officer at Catholic Charities. So I'd just like to publicly congratulate Ashley for her position with Catholic Charities and now our partnership with Catholic Charities.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Quirk.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this program's super needed. I mean, the better job we can do in this area. Hopefully, the less problems we have, for example, in our public schools and fighting and everything else. And I'm sure everybody saw the video at Lansdowne High School. And I know this is ages 5 to 12, but if you can hopefully help kids younger, maybe it can prevent some of the problems later. And I think this is through the Villa Maria program. Is that right? Under the Associated Catholic Charities? Is this Villa
Right,
Maria?
that's the location, right, correct, sir.
Yeah, and then they're a super, super good program. I mean, I personally know a couple of people that work for Villa Maria, and some of the work they do is truly exceptional. I mean, these Villa Maria, they're really good people doing really tough jobs. And so, yeah, this is definitely a very worthwhile and obviously needed type of program. So glad to see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Thank you very much, Mr. Richardson. Now we move on to page 21. Mr. Rob O'Connor, Director of the Office of Information Technology. And Rob, let me guess, congratulate you and thank you so much for your service. So many times we turn these computers on, we expect them to work. They work, the network is up, everything is great, and we are free from ransomware and all kinds of other things that we have seen bring down networks. And I don't mean to jinx us.
Knock on wood.
Everybody's knocking on wood right now.
For standing on the line, keeping our system up and running and backed up. And I guess want to thank you.
Appreciate it. And when they don't work, I get the first phone call. So all good.
Absolutely.
Well, good afternoon, Chairman and members of the council. Administration is requesting approval of a contract with Conduit State and Local Solutions to operate 7 vehicle height enforcement camera systems to assist with redirecting large commercial vehicles and enforcing restrictions on certain residential county roads. The contract commences upon council approval, continues through June 30th of 2025, and will renew automatically for 4 additional 2-year periods with the option to extend the initial term for any renewal term for an additional 90 days. The contract does not specify a maximum compensation for the initial approximate 2 years and 11.5 months. Compensation may not exceed $4,375,000 for the entire approximate 10-year and 11.5 month term, including the renewal and extension periods. This contract is based off of a cooperative agreement through the state of Delaware that was originally competitively bid.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councilman Quirk.
Sorry to be the freaking flyer today, but yeah. So I'm thinking, Councilman Crandall and myself. Clearly, we both have pretty significant issues here. Like this would be something, for example, Benson Avenue. I'm sure is one of the roads we're looking at. And now I did notice that the systems are expected to be active beginning in April of 2023. So that's when we'll see this in full force. Is that right?
That is correct. They should start deploying in mid-March to April. That's correct.
Been a long time coming, but I'm sure Councilman Pat Young can take ownership and credit for this one. But I mean, it's great to see. My goodness, it took forever and a day, but I'm really happy to finally see a solution, because I know Councilman Crandall and I has been a huge issue for both of us. So yeah, job well done. Thank you.
No problem, sir. And since there are 7 camera systems, maybe we can name them appropriately for each council member.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilman Quirk, the election is 29 days away, so I'm not so sure that we need to be bringing candidates' names into our discussion today. But however, I can't agree with you more that the issue of trucks on residential roads or illegal routes is something that we've been battling for years now. And the process to get to the point to vote on this contract, if our colleagues aren't aware, really started, I would say, over 2 years ago. There had to be an effort made by the administration, and I thank Kimmy Ralston for her work in getting this started. We needed enabling legislation from the General Assembly. That occurred, and then work went on with the truck traffic work group that had citizens and various agencies represented, and their work, is culminated with this contract and when the system actually gets implemented. That work is certainly appreciated. I appreciate Madam CAO and her time last week in briefing me on this. Councilman Quirk is absolutely correct. It's been a long time coming, but it will. This program will bring some added some relief to a problem that just as the port continues to grow, as Trade Point Atlantic continues to grow, we see more and more truck traffic, and we don't want to stop commerce in any way. However, there are routes that these trucks are supposed to be on, and some of these truckers are not following the rules. So now we'll have an enforcement tool to do that. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank I'm not going to thank every individual involved in this, but I know that OIT obviously has been involved in this, as well as Director Walker's outfit and the police department. And I'm hoping I'm not missing any other agencies there. And certainly the administration has been an interagency sort of effort to get this program underway. And that sigh of relief that you may have heard last week was when Madam CAO let me know that this contract was coming up on our agenda. So I thank everybody involved. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Well, we would say that the other part of this wagon wheel is Office of Budget and Finance. It really is an enterprise-wide operation, and I want to thank Councilman Crandall and his staff and Councilman Quirk for their patience, because we uncovered lots of business process steps that no one knew about in order for us to make this happen, interface with the courts, all different kind of things. But this is an important contract for us because we can officially order the equipment. One of the things that the vendor told us was about supply chain issues, and the quicker we can get our order in, the quicker we can get our cameras and things situated, so we can finally get the operation up and running.
Well, thank you, Madam CAO. I appreciate you mentioning the Office of Budget and Finance. Certainly couldn't conduct any business and expenditures without their help. And I think there was an additional sigh of relief. I think I heard it on our call. If Director Walker, it's probably Director Walker's sigh of relief in that I'm not going to be bugging her about this. Or maybe I will just for fun. But she's been very patient with me as I've been pestering basically over the past year or so for updates on the status of this program. So I'm excited. Wish we could implement it tomorrow, but that's not how things work.
Mr. Chairman, one other thing, if I could, just wanted to acknowledge Pete Kriskimis as well, because Pete was my guy on the ground, getting beat up over this issue dozens of times. I mean, the news was out. The citizens, Councilman Crandall and I really, this one's been a tough one for years and years, because for so long, we felt powerless. We need the state's help. There's so much complexity to this. So this is one really years and years in the making. And so if you could just let Pete Kriskimis know I mentioned his name too, because he will like that. And even though he did jump ship to a different department, it's okay. Just tell him I said hi and ask him how the Ravens are doing. And cool. Thank you.
Councilman Quirk, I can't let you just thank your guy, because I know Pete was getting slammed on this issue when he was with your office. But I also need to extend some kudos to my own person, Ron Metzger, in my office, who has primarily dealt with our constituent concerns on this, but also served on the truck traffic work group, and I think represented us well in that group. So don't want to leave him out. So thanks for the reminder, Councilman Quirk.
You betcha. Good stuff.
Just to be clear, Mr. O'Connor, so a vehicle that's so high, indicating it's a tractor trailer or a very tall vehicle, will automatically get a ticket in the mail?
So there's a review process that's done of the citation, typical of red light, speed light camera. I know that Manameo is working with the police department and with DPWT and others, because there are specific vehicles that, are not to be cited for being in those locations, delivery trucks, trash trucks, et cetera. So as Madam Mayo said, every stone that was unturned was another new process and item that we had to make sure that we check those boxes. But that is correct. If it is, not supposed to be in that area appropriately, and it is beyond a certain height, the tag will be captured and they will be cited.
Fantastic. I tell you,
Mr. Chairman,
in my, great Councilman Cat.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you want to finish?
Oh,
or-
no, I was going to, I'll let you go first and I'll get
Yeah.
cleaned up.
I certainly understand the issues in Catonsville area and Dundalk, and I'm very pleased that the county has been able to secure this contract, because I know it's a real problem. But one thing, I really consider it an honor that you would like to name one of these ticket producing mechanism after me, but I'm going to say I don't think so. I would rather, like Councilman Marks and Patoka, that the machines be named after them, and that when the ticket goes out, they'll be honored with their names on the ticket. So I certainly thank you, but I'm going to let that honor go to other people. Thank you.
Thanks for thinking about us, Councilman Catch.
Mr.
Oh,
Chair, Mr. Chair, I can't let it go.
Yes.
The Councilman Catch wants to defer and not have his.
Include their phone numbers as well.
I think that would be fair. Yeah, an address. Yeah, sounds good.
If Councilman Catch wants to defer his name being on the camera system, I have an unnamed pumping station in the 7th district. So I'm going to make a motion at the legislative session that we name one of our sewage pumping stations the Wade Catch pumping station.
Well,
Very important.
that
Very
come on,
important.
guys.
Don't
I
you
don't
have
have
a
a
dead?
problem. I
Don't you
don't
have
have
a dead
a problem with
thing
that.
named after you?
I tell you what I was going to say was, I don't have that many trucks that violate the rules on Dogwood Road, but we have a sign that indicates no truck beyond a certain height, beyond a certain weight. And what often happens, and it happens probably once a month, somebody will look on the map, they'll see it as a shortcut. They will go down Dogwood Road. They cannot make the hill. They get around the corner and then it's the steep hill. They can't make it. They get halfway up there, they stall out, and then they have to try to back down, and it blocks up traffic. It's a terrible mess when they do that. But I would imagine they only do it once, because oftentimes, it's just such a hassle for them to do it. The roads are blocked up and a lot of unhappy people. Any additional questions or comments? How much are the tickets? Mr. O'Connor, how much will the tickets be?
I do not set that, sir. I will defer that to the police department, I guess, or the administration.
Okay, no problem. We'll figure it out.
Mr. Chair, I believe the max ticket allowed by state law is $250.
Okay.
Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the case.
Okay. Next we'll move on to page 29, Ms. Rosalind Johnson.
Good afternoon, Council Chair Jones, members of council. The administration is requesting approval to accept a donation of land from Trade Point Atlantic, specifically about 21 acres of unimproved land to be used by the Department of Recreation and Parks for a new park. The land was formerly used as part of a golf course, and extensive environmental testing has been completed by a county contractor. And in July, the Maryland Department of Environment provided letters for each of the two parcels, accepting them into their voluntary cleanup program. During park construction, the county or its contracts will follow the mandated protocols as outlined by MDE. And this project is going to be funded using a combination of federal, state, and local sources. And this building on this site is slated to be the county's first LEED Platinum designed facility.
So, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Are there any questions or comments from the members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Crandall.
Very exciting day. Thank you, Ms. Johnson, and your staff and everyone else involved in the administration for getting us to this point. This is a really exciting project, and it's really meaningful to, well, the project's exciting, but this is the first component is our approval, the council's approval, accepting the land. This has been in the works for quite a while. If you remember, back when the council approved the public financing, or I'm sorry, the public infrastructure deal with Trade Point Atlantic, there was a, I guess I'll just call it an MOU that Trade Point Atlantic would identify land such as this that we could use for a park. This is, I don't want to go on too long, but this is meaningful for the community in a lot of different ways. And I'll just mention two of them. One is that the North Point Peninsula, which encompasses Sparrows Point, Edgemere, and Fort Howard, it's a peninsula of approximately 10,000 people, and they don't have a community center. They've never had a community center. So this is something that the community has wanted for some time. Now we have the opportunity to build one, and to build the first of its kind in Baltimore County. Then the second component that I know that the community will certainly appreciate is the additional artificial turf field. We have a very successful rec council in the Edgemere Sparrows Point Rec Council, and because of their success, we face a lot of field pressure on that peninsula. So this will be a widely used facility by, I'm assuming, by people of all ages, from our youngest athletes to probably some of our adults and seniors. So very much looking forward to the groundbreaking and of course the construction. I did have a question about the environmental, potential environmental issues, but I believe that Director Johnson has answered those, that testing has been done. We know, I think the county knows what we're getting into as far as this property goes. So the one question I do have, and not to limit my excitement over this at all, but I seem to remember seeing another draft of Resolution 4122 that had some language in it talking about some of the historic components that were going to be, or that are planned to be, part of the community center. And I see Ms. Johnson, I see you nodding your head. So it doesn't appear to be in the draft that I have now. Did those historic components of the original resolution, did that fall out somewhere, or?
We will still, Councilman Crandall, thank you for your question. We will still have the historic I-beam that was actually forged at Bethlehem Steel. And for those of you who don't know, which I'm sure most of you do know, the I-beam is key in building skyscrapers. And so it was created right at our very own Bethlehem Steel. So that will be part of the entrance sign for Sparrows Point Park. There's some other components that we are working on, the community and some historians to be able to acquire. So those aren't official yet until we have secured them. There have been many conversations. We're also working with the Baltimore Museum of Industry to help articulate the history of the area. Additionally, the actual community center will have the skyline of Bethlehem Steel, and that's one of the art components to this actual piece, the public art component. So I'm just memorializing the history of Bethlehem Steel, the colors, also of the old Bethlehem Steel football team, the gray and blue are throughout. So anywhere that we were able to, we have recognized the history, and we anticipate to be able to continue to do so and have an interpretive area in the vestibule in the lobby of the center.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your clarification, Director Johnson. And then I'd also like to thank the folks at Trade Point Atlantic. They followed through with their commitment, and their level of community involvement, I think, is fairly unprecedented by a developer in Baltimore County in terms of just their philanthropic efforts, and now following through on their commitment for these 21 or so acres to really build what promises to be a gem in Baltimore County. And I'll say it again, I think the community will certainly appreciate the amenities. They've had a say in what the amenities will be. And let's get this thing moving. Let's vote on it on Monday, and let's get it groundbreaking.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the members? I'm curious, Ms. Johnson. You said it was entered into a voluntary cleanup. Was the site contaminated?
The site is not necessarily contaminated. There's some environmental concerns. And so this is technically what we would call a brownfield to a greenfield, where there are some environmental concerns. And through the construction process, we will clean up those environmental concerns, thus turning it into an official greenfield where it's safe for everyone and it meets MDE standards.
So we will clean it up, Baltimore County?
Yes, that is part of the construction of this piece. And when we say Baltimore County, the contractors will assist. We've received federal, state, and local dollars for this project. One of the pieces with this donation, by us getting an appraisal for it, it will allow us to use 75% of the appraised value for program open space, which is state funding, to help develop this project. So it is all part of the total project.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Quirk.
Yeah. So they're going to give us some land, but it's a brownfield. Do we know how much cost we're going to incur from this quote unquote gift?
We can get that to you. The cost for the total project, the total cost for the cleanup is somewhat negligible for this. Based on the benefits, we will have a lit artificial turf field, which will allow us to maximize the playability here. It will be LED lit. We'll have an accessible put-in for kayaks. We will have a nature area that will be left in its natural sense. We will have a universally accessible playground at this particular location, and we will have the 16,000 square foot rec center and a play area. Practice area as well.
Do we know the extent of the brownfield damage? I mean, the costs can be exorbitant if there's a lot of cleanup involved. So I'm just trying to. I mean, will we have the estimate of cleanup costs before the vote?
We can get that to you, absolutely. The cost, until we have an actual bid back, the costs are estimates, so we could certainly get an estimate by our design company to you.
Before the vote? I mean, that's a lot of work. I mean, to really understand the total scope of the cleanup, and we're supposed to be voting on this really soon. So, I mean, is it realistic to get a professional estimate of a brownfield remediation site, which seems normally these things are fairly expensive to clean up?
That's an excellent question. To be clear, it is not the entire 21 acres. It is a small portion of the parcel that needs to be cleaned up. And the remediation, well, I don't want to quote exactly what the remediation is. I'm pretty sure of what it is, but I'm not 100% sure. So in the effort to give accurate information, I prefer to get that information to you so I can verify it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair, if I can interject.
Absolutely.
So this, the site has been tested. As Director Johnson has said, we're not heading into mystery land on this. And to my knowledge, there were never any, there was not steel making done on this particular two parcels. That was not used for steel making. The parts of that 3,300 acres on the Trade Point Atlantic property, much of it was used for steel making, and Trade Point Atlantic had to commit $48 million and probably went above and beyond that to remediate that part of the property. But I just want to sort of reiterate that the property has been tested, and one of the reasons that the process for the donation to come to this point was so, excuse me, so that environmental testing could be done. So the county, and Madam CAO or Director Johnson, correct me if I'm wrong, but we know what we're getting, and we know what we're getting into, and it's not like let's accept the land and then find out later that we can't build on it. We know that we know that we can build the things that are proposed on this property.
Councilmember Crandall, you are absolutely correct. This is something that we're going in eyes wide open, and that's why the environmental assessment was done. But as Director Johnson indicated, to be clear on the small portion of remediation that has to be done, we will get back to you with what the cost associated with that part is. But what we think is important to note that the value of the land, the usability of the land, our ability to use program open space dollars to be able to develop the land. 75% of the value of the estimated value of the land, we're able to leverage dollars to develop it, which we are not dollars per se that's direct county general fund or capital dollars, but program open space dollars. So we're happy to provide more detailed information on exactly what needs to be done to develop this particular parcel of the land, because it is not the entire full acreage that has to be developed or remediated.
Thank you, Madam CAO. Appreciate it.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? I guess you say a small part of the land would have. What do we know? What part?
Chairman Jones, we're losing you. We're getting about every other word.
I was curious about what part of the project, 21 acres will have part where the children will play, or what part will that be?
It's a small portion of the park, and to be clear, it's I think when people think, what is a brownfield, what is it? There are all sorts of contaminants. It could be immediately our mind may go to some type of radioactive material, some type of harmful material. That is not the case at all. It used to be a golf course, so this is nothing out of the ordinary that we see when we, normally have to clean up some places. We did extensive testing because of the area, but it is nothing major that can't be cleaned up. Our third-party company that we had looked at it gave us the testing results. We have filed that with MDE, and we have been approved for a plan of cleanup. So, you know, I don't want anyone to be alarmed by this, but once the area is cleaned up, it will be remediated, completely remediated. So it will be safe for all to be able to play at this particular location and recreate. But we could get that information to you, Council Chair Jones. I believe we have the information online, but I will pull it up and put it into a nice package and get that information to you.
Was not sure, and I just looked it up myself. So I typed in brownfield land, and it popped up, and it said it can be anything from soil contamination to hazardous waste.
That's correct, and it is not hazardous waste at this particular location.
Okay, because there's a big difference.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay. Any additional question or comment?
Just to make sure I understand, how many acres of the 20-some acres are considered brownfields, did you say?
That's the information we will get back to you, Councilmember Clark. It's a small portion of the actual park, actual 21 acres. I don't want to guesstimate. I believe I know, but unless I'm 100% sure, I don't want to give you that information. So I just want to confirm it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. If you could email the council just something in writing from the firm that we consulted with on giving us the estimate on the cleanup. I mean, if it's like 25 grand or 50,000 or something, I'm sure nobody would have an issue with it. But you know, it's just more understanding the total cost, because a gift at some point doesn't become a gift. At some point, if it's too much, it becomes a liability. So of course we don't want that. And I'm sure it's not that, but just to kind of do our due diligence, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Right. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, all right. Mr. Marks, Resolution 43-22, Perry Hall Community Plan.
Thank you very much. This is a resolution that's introduced to modify some of the parking requirements in the Perry Hall Community Plan. It basically says that the strict Main Street concept with all parking provided at the side and rear buildings shall apply to two sections of Bel Air Road. First, the east side between and including 8715 Bel Air Road and Blakely Avenue, and then the section between Joppa Road, Minty Drive, and Juliet Lane. These were recommendations that come from the Perry Hall Improvement Association, and I believe you're going to hear from Pat Keller, who not only is president of that group, but also was a former director of planning.
Okay, are there any additional questions or comments? Okay, and we do have a speaker, that's correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Mr. Pat Keller.
Okay.
Mr. Keller, you are on as a panelist.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. My name is Pat Keller. I'm president of the Perry Hall Improvement Association, and I'm speaking in favor of Resolution 4322. This resolution actually amends the guidelines for Bel Air Road in our community plan area. Along this stretch, Bel Air Road is about 3.8 miles. It's strip commercial, it's 5 lanes, it's a state highway. It's a major collector road, and this amendment is actually strategic. It intended to be more intentional about where in our community we would actually create a tighter Main Street development. So the resolution proposes amending our community plan to reflect the existing development as well as where we would like to see the Main Street development occur. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keller. Are there any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go right ahead, Councilman Marks.
I just want to thank Mr. Keller for his service. I was president of the Perry Hall Improvement Association for 9 years. and involved in drafting the community plan. I know he puts a lot of thought and work in what he does, and we appreciate him being here today.
Comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Pope.
I too would like to give greetings to Mr. Keller and thank him for his work in the community. I worked at Pat's side for many years and always respected his professional acumen as a planner, and really am pleased that he's working with the Perry Hall community. David, you're lucky to have a guy like Pat in your district.
I definitely am.
Ms. Keller. Page 33. Last but certainly not least, something important to us all. Cable television. Mr. Boswell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 4422 is or seeks the council's approval of the cable franchise, the renewal of the county's cable franchise agreement with Comcast. This is a relatively unique situation where the county council is the franchisor of the franchise, unlike most situations where the county enters into contracts or franchise agreements with various vendors or various entities. In this case, it's the county council that is the actual franchisor. As we all may be aware, Comcast and its prior incarnation as Calvert Telecommunications, or Caltech, has been operating a cable system in the county since 1973. The council approved a resolution in 1973, 1981, and most recently in 1997 for a franchise agreement with them to allow Comcast to operate, construct, and maintain its cable system in the county. In 2004, the council passed a resolution to extend the franchise for additional years. And then that brings us to the recent past, where we have been in negotiations with Comcast to renew their franchise agreement yet again. The council delegated that duty to its negotiating team, which consisted of Rob O'Connor, who is, of course, the director of the Office of Information Technology, John Davis, who is the county's cable administrator, and John is actually a former employee with Comcast, so he is very familiar with how cable companies, and in particular Comcast, do their business. Susan Dubin, who's the deputy county attorney and is in charge of the county's transactions practice. So we had some really good minds negotiating on behalf of the county, which may or may not have also included Adam Phillips and myself as well. And so, putting all of our heads together, we negotiated this agreement with Comcast. It frankly did take several years to go from soup to nuts. The pandemic didn't help, but in a way it may have helped, because it really did bring the parties together, I think, in a better way, and taking more reasonable positions, and ones where we could come to an agreement. So if I may, I would just hit some of the highlights of this new agreement. Number one, the franchise agreement maintains the same 5% maximum percentage of gross revenue that the county has been getting in previous agreements, so that is maintained. It also updates the definition of gross revenue to encompass more services, and adds a beneficial clause regarding bundled services, which are more common than they were in the past. So we try to ensure that the county is getting what it is entitled to from that 5%. This for the first time, this agreement incorporates a PEG capital fee, or public education and government access channel fee. This will be 66 cents per subscriber in the county, and may also increase just a little bit over time. And this is very important, and Rob has touched on this before, but it allows the county to maintain and expand its infrastructure, its fiber infrastructure, as well as the PEG, as well as PEG. Another important thing the agreement does is it lowers the density, and I think this is very important for the more rural areas of the county which struggle to get service. This agreement lowers the density where they must provide service from 30 per cable mile to 20 homes per cable mile. This also drops to 15 per cable mile if all of the affected homes that may be eligible sign up for cable service for at least 1 year. And the only other large county that has that right now is Montgomery County at 15. There's also a cost sharing component, again, mostly for the rural customers, so that that it allows rural customers to be combined in one build out project and divide that cost. And the cost sharing formula also ensures that the build out cost is on par with Comcast's average construction costs, preventing them from inflating it. And of course, we have a bulldog cable administrator who stays on them very much so to ensure that the customers are getting a fair shake. There's also a liquidated damages provision. In previous agreements, we had really no way to assess minor or technical violations of the agreement, and the LD section allows us to be made whole for smaller infractions administratively and in a quicker way. Our hope, and I'm sure Comcast's hope, is that we never have to invoke any of this, but if we do, it is there. We will also be entitled to, at least once every 3 years, have a performance evaluation session in a public forum that will allow us to have the public attend these, and so we can just assess where we are. We also, another thing that's important for the rural areas is the drop distance, which is the distance, the number of feet a house is from the cable running along the public right-of-way. This new agreement increases the drop distance Comcast is required to give customers from 125 feet to 300 feet for free, not to have to pay for that drop. And in rural areas, there are frequently small clusters of houses that spur off a common private driveway that connects to a public road, sort of the secondary or even secondary to a secondary. And this new agreement allows cable service build out on almost every private road and long driveway in the county, as if the road were a public right of way. And then finally, one of the other highlights of this agreement is the performance bond that Comcast must post will go from $50,000 to $200,000, which again is more in line with the larger jurisdictions that Comcast serves in the state. So those are the main things that are in this agreement. The only other thing I'll say is when you look at Exhibit A, which is the actual agreement itself, it's really very comprehensive. It has a lot of things in there that were not in the previous agreement that have to do with customer service, compliance and reporting, auditing, and performance, and then a violations and enforcement section. So we really tried to get the county the best deal we could, and I think we did that. And if the council has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Councilman Katz, I'm going to go to you. I guess had one quick question. I guess let me make sure. I heard you say early in your presentation, did you say you had Megamind working with you?
I'm sorry?
Did you say you had Megamind on your team?
I'm not sure who that may be.
Okay.
We had Rob O'Connor, Susan Dubin, and John Davis, who is the county's cable administrator, as well as Adam and myself.
Okay. All right, Councilman
Catch.
Councilman Catch.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the five of you so much for all the work that you've done with this Comcast contract. As I look at the contract, and look at the amount of money that the state and federal government have appropriated to provide cable services to rural areas, when you put this contract together with the funds available for that purpose, I think that Northern Baltimore County, in fact, I know, will be getting cable services a lot faster than we thought would happen 2-3 years ago. And as you look at the contract, you can see that there's so much more for our consumers in it. I mean, consumers all over the county. And I know actually what happened during the negotiations. A former state's attorney was there, Sandra O'Connor, and she, you know how she forced them to come forward with this great deal. Isn't that right, Rob?
I'll pass that along to her. But no, I do want to say that, that John Davis,
Yes.
Adam and Sue, I mean, they really did take the lead on this. Tom and I, kind of, ushered it along very, very much so. But I do want to thank the three of them for all their efforts. And Councilman, I do concur. If you take a look at the previous agreement compared to this one, I think this is still a good franchise agreement for Baltimore County, but this improves dramatically for the constituents of Baltimore County.
Absolutely. And I was going to thank each one of them separately, but you've done it already. And, I know you all dealt with John Davis and with constituent issues, and he does a great job resolving them. And I really appreciate the team that was put together to negotiate with Comcast. And my constituents seem to be pleased as well, because we're sending out information about the contract. They already know about the money coming from the state and feds. So this contract just is so, it complements what's happening. And, especially during COVID, when so many of our students in Northern Baltimore County really didn't have access to the cable and so to the internet. And this isn't going to be a problem in the future. And again, I appreciate it so much. And so there you go. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilman Catch.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Work? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just super briefly, kind of echoing Councilman Patch's comments, and the team with Adam and Tom and Rob and Sue Dubin and John Davis, if I have his name right. I remember 4 years ago sitting in the first couple of meetings. Probably having me off the team was probably not a bad idea, because I just remember going nowhere quickly with Comcast, and literally this is so much different than the initial negotiation, because it wasn't a negotiation. It was Comcast saying, we want everything, you guys have nothing, okay, let's go, we're done. And that's literally how this whole thing started, and it grinded to a halt from there, because it was not a communication or negotiation. It was our way and that's all. And it was really kind of a disaster, to be honest, starting on this negotiation. And so it's really good to see a complete 180 from where it was several years ago, stuck in the biggest quicksand and just impasse ever imaginable. And then now seeing that ultimately both sides could work together and come up with something that everybody could live with. So job well done to the team, because this is a complete 180 from where it was a long time ago. So thank you, guys.
Well, let me also just thank you, Councilman Perk. Let me just add in there the Councilman Catch, who's been an advocate for the folks in his district for quite some time, and everyone else to make those significant improvements to the citizens in the rural areas of the county is extremely important, and I'm very, very happy to see us make those improvements. It's been something we've been working on for an awful long time. So we clearly want to make sure that every citizen who chooses to want to get tied to the cable, that they can. And it's good that we've made those improvements. It's been something that I know Councilman Cash has been working on for a long time, and the rest of us has been right there beside you, helping you out every way we can. So, any additional questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Councilman Patoka.
Thank you. Tom, I was wondering about the big picture. Like, this is a contract, Tom Boswick. This is a contract, an agreement with Comcast. Do we have an agreement with Verizon on the forefront? And what other providers? Or there's another provider out there, or it's just Verizon and Comcast? And how does having multiple providers, how does that dynamic feed into our agreement? How does that work into our agreement? Does that give us more leverage?
Well, last question first, I will say we do only have two at the moment. We do have Comcast and Verizon. And Verizon, was a little bit of a later comer. In fact, our franchise agreement with Verizon was first entered into in 2007, and they were responsible for a build out as well. And of course, the hope was that competition would breed better customer service and prices. And I think that's been the case, even though, look, everybody's not always happy with the cable guy or the cable provider, but I think having Verizon and Comcast here jointly has helped. We are actually starting in the beginning stages of negotiations with Verizon now on the renewal of their franchise. So we're kind of taking them one by one, and now we're starting with them. It's hard to know, cable has changed a lot, especially in the last probably 10 years or even 5 years, cable TV. And that's really what the franchise is about. Internet is related, but it's not regulated by this agreement because those are treated by the federal government as two separate and distinct things. But we all know that they are, practically speaking, pretty related. And we've got people streaming now. We've got people that have gotten rid of their cable TV altogether just to have internet. So the dynamic has changed. For example, the agreement with Comcast was for 20 years. It ended up being 21 years, I believe, and this one is 10 years because both sides recognize the changing dynamic of the cable industry. I think both sides want a chance to be more nimble than to be in some long-term entrenched agreement. And so that's where we are right now, sir.
Well, I wonder if this being the framework allows us the opportunity to double down on on access to our rural areas. So if Comcast is required to provide service to lower density areas, then Verizon ought to be held to that same standard. And so it allows us to, it's kind of a multiplier to address our more rural areas. I also wondered, is there opportunity, because there's both Verizon and Comcast are giants in so many ways. I mean, you can't watch television without seeing a Verizon or Comcast commercial, and one aspect of what they do. Are they active in our community? Do they provide community grants, or we go on to national night out events that are sponsored by Comcast or Verizon? And, is there opportunities to help our communities?
I know that you had mentioned this before, Councilman, and I think John Davis actually reached out to Comcast to get a little more detail on that. And John, if you like, maybe you can speak to that because I think they are, trying to be a little more active or a little more noticeable in that sense.
Yeah, Comcast has been,
very helpful in community situations. I mean, the first kind of nationwide thing that they've done, and we have taken advantage of it. They have a program called Internet Essentials, which basically provides very low cost internet service for those residents in need. And it's been a wonderful program. It's only $10 a month. And we've taken kind of that one step further in some sponsorships. The county has sponsored over 14,000 residents that had signed up for Internet Essentials. We've received money funding from federal sources to kind of pay that $10 fee and help those residents. So that's been wonderful. We're also working on transitioning that program to a new FCC program called ACP, Affordable Connectivity Program, that will provide $30 to residents for use for broadband service and also mobile service. Once they sign up through the FCC, individuals can go to whatever provider they want, whether that's Comcast, Verizon, T-Mobile, whatever service provider they want, and utilize that $30 benefit to get the broadband and mobile services. So that's been fantastic. A new program that Comcast is working on is a federal grant for digital navigators that's going to supply 12 to 15 students from CCBC to assist us in signups for the ACP program. So we're going to utilize those students. Comcast is footing the bill. We're going to work with our Department of Aging and libraries to provide training, internal training, so that we can help residents sign up for the ACP program and get the funding they need. And that's going to be, that program will begin, I mean, it's in its planning stages currently. It's slated to begin the first of next year in January. They've also provided, Comcast has also provided 125 laptops that can be utilized throughout the county. They're working with the libraries on providing some equipment as well that we can loan out. We're working, aside from Comcast, we're also working on a large state grant for equipment that can be utilized through the libraries and utilized through many of our different departments that will allow residents that qualify to get free equipment. And they will, that program is coming out within the next 30 days or so. That'll be provided by the state. I can provide some additional, a list. Comcast supplied a letter that I believe you were forwarded a couple of weeks ago, but I'll be happy to get you a detailed list of all the different programs that Comcast has been involved with. They've been actually, we've actually, we use the term partnership a lot, and sometimes that isn't necessarily the case, but I believe that Comcast has really done a great job in helping the community, and I'm glad they're on board with our partnership.
I thought, and I vaguely remember from years and years ago, that they had a community small grants program. I remember it was like a pamphlet that we would take out to community associations, not in Baltimore County, in Baltimore City. And it was an easy to fill out application. I'm gonna see if I can dig that up. I haven't seen it in many, many years, but I always thought, community associations are very dedicated to the work that they do, but sometimes they're not great grant writers, and sometimes, and Comcast, I think it was Comcast, did a good job at having a very simple grant application pamphlet that we took out to community associations. It was, $500. It was not a huge amount of money, but very meaningful to community associations. And I appreciate the work that you guys have done. I just was wondering if there's any way to weave a community small grants program into that.
I'll check into the small grants program. It's not something that I am aware of currently. It may have changed, what they call it. I'm not sure, but I'll do a little research for you and let you know.
And it might have been a city in the city franchise agreement.
Yeah, that's a
if you can check in
possibility.
on that, John, because if the city did have it in their franchise agreement, I'm not 100% that it was in there, but it's something.
Yeah, a lot of the programs that Comcast is participating in are not part of the actual franchise agreement. They're just community initiatives that we have worked with them on, and they've been they've been very, very helpful.
And then the last thing I have, and this is probably a non-starter, but I got to say it because I think it's important, is an a la carte menu for cable. So instead of having to get 100 channels you're not going to watch, can you just pick out channels? Can we ask Comcast to allow Baltimore County residents to have an a la carte option of just picking out, if you just want the Food Network and that's it, and CNN, that you can just pick those two rather than having a lot of other, packaged.
Yeah, from my experience in working for Comcast, that's not something they do on a local basis. Any programs that they have from a channel package lineup are nationally related. So, if you can get it in Baltimore, if you can get it in Towson, if you can get it here, if you would be able to get that in San Diego or any other city. So it would be a little bit different. That's not something that they have ever done before.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John. Go ahead. I apologize.
Sorry, Councilman Jones. I thought you had a question, but yeah, that's not something that I've ever seen before from Comcast. It's not there. It's just not something that they offer. Everything that there are some new packages coming out that have been around that are kind of smaller packages because as was said before, a lot of people are moving away from traditional TV cable related services and moving to just having a broadband connection and then picking what services that they want to buy, right? There's a lot of vendors out there, not Comcast, but a lot of vendors. Apple TV comes to mind. There's, of course, you can buy your Netflix, your any other product from a streaming service that you want to buy. Individual channels are kind of dictated by the local
Hey, John.
area. Like we get certain local channels in our lineup, but there's nothing else that they can do individually, unfortunately.
Well, I'm one of them. I only get internet service from Comcast. I've got the cable.
Right.
And the only thing I really miss is Masson, which I don't think you can get. I miss watching Oriole games.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Comcast doesn't even control Masson. Masson controls Masson. So they don't offer a program that you can just get that one channel, unfortunately.
Can I jump in here for 1 second?
Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
I guess have a correction I have to make. I guess feel compelled to say it. Comcast has many different packages. You can take as much as you like or as little as you like, but the price is the same. You only want to watch the Food Network? Watch the Food Network. You only want to watch CNN? Watch CNN. The price is the same, no matter what you pick. So they got plenty of programs. The price is the same.
But I'm saying if you go into a restaurant and you only want green beans, do you have to pay for a hamburger too?
Well, if you go to Horn and Horn or Cactus Willie or one of those buffets, you're exactly
Horn and Horn.
what you like. The price is the same.
Horn and Horn.
I'm
Is there a Horn and Horn?
Well,
Where?
He's going back to the 80s on that one.
So, Mr. Chair, I think what Councilman Patoka, I mean, we're really, to make a request like that, we're asking, and Mr. Davis could maybe confirm what I'm saying, is that we're asking them to change their business model for the region that they serve, and offering a la carte station by station. I know my wife and I, we don't appreciate paying for 800 channels of which we watch 10 or 15. But that's going to be up to Comcast as the streaming services evolve. It's going to be up to them to change their business model to stay relevant beyond offering broadband.
I think Comcast would argue you pay for the 15 you watch. They give you the other 800 for.
And you're right. Both of you are right. It's something that, look, they're going to be making decisions for the most part where they can have a return and where they can make money and stay profitable. And so they're not going to do too many things probably that are not profitable for them. And at some point, they may have to come to a point with the changing dynamic where they maybe offer things differently. I don't think we're there yet, but we may end up getting there at some point.
Well, let me add one more thing in the spirit of getting things for free. I just want to thank you, John, and I want to thank you, Tom, and I want to thank the administration for providing the support, Rob, and everything else, because to be quite frank, you guys, what you did was negotiate a significant agreement with Comcast. And I would not have been surprised if we were to hire a consultant that would have charged us $400,000 or $500,000 to do this. So the fact that you did it in-house and were able to produce a very significant bargain for the citizens, especially as it relates to the performance for our rural customers, I think is just extraordinary. And I just want to thank you for it because, like I said, I don't know what the value of something like this is if we were to outsource it. I don't know, $400,000. I have no idea, John. This is your business. You tell me. But I'm happy the administration has.
Well, it's funny, as I mentioned before, I'm a member of Capitoa, which is a group of cable administrators from around the country, and we are kind of an anomaly, right? We are one entity that has kind of done everything in-house, and we have been extremely successful at that. A lot of other entities that have hired outside counsel, consultants, and everything else are still mired in a lot of red tape and a lot of problems, and they did not make near the headway that we have made on this agreement. So I'm very proud of it. I appreciate all the assistance of, with Rob and Tom and Adam, especially. He's kind of the quiet one there. Adam did a ton of work, a ton of research with other organizations and pulled out a lot of clauses and different things. And we, worked on this for quite a long time. So it's been very successful, and I appreciate your sentiments. It was very time consuming, no doubt.
No, but I tell you, it's a testament to your expertise and how we brought together a great team to get this done. And I'm just curious, what would a consultant or outside counsel, what do they charge for something like that?
Wow, I mean, in the neighborhood of probably $300 to $400 an hour to work on something like this, and I assure you, we put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this between everybody. And I don't want to forget Sue Dubin. She was very helpful as well. So I don't know. I could do the math for you, but it would be certainly an extraordinary number.
Is 500,000 reasonable? Is that the amount of?
Oh, I believe so. Yes. I think it's very reasonable. And when you throw in the lawyers getting $500, $600, $700 an hour, who knows?
I believe Montgomery County utilized outside counsel for their previous negotiation. I can reach out to their cable administrator and find out what that costs, and then we can then in turn just bill half of that for the 5 of us.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much. I really think you did a fantastic job. And the big thing is it's going to, despite the fact that we're saving a lot of money, which is great, you save the county money, you did a wonderful job. I'm just happy that the services to our rural customers are going to be there. And I know it's something that they've wanted for a long time, and we really wanted to get it for them, especially Councilman Cat. who represents the majority of the rural companies. We all represent some, but I think he probably represents the most. Any additional questions or comments from the members before we adjourn?
And I would just say, Mr. Chairman, we on the team also appreciate the council's support that's been expressed here, but that's also allowed us to get to this point too. So thank you.
Sure.
And Mr.
Councilman
Chairman,
Quirk?
yeah, I just want to echo your comments too. So I think it really is an important point that you made is, I think reflexively, the county often immediately goes toward outside consultants. But what a wonderful thing to see that not only did we not do that, but we also had some super talented quality that really came up with a great deal. So it's something I think we all can learn from, and hopefully in the future save the county some money on other projects that we might be looking at if we can find the right people internally. Boy, what a good win-win this turned out to be. So job really well done by the team once again. Thank you.
Thank you. And to your point, Councilman Quirk, I mean, hey, we give the administration credit, right? I mean, in addition to our staff, we hired the cable administrator. I don't know, how long have you been here, John? 3, 4 years?
Be 4 years in February.
Okay, good. May you be here for as long as you like. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Any additional questions or comments? All right. All right, everybody, have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.